the beginning of 2021, I am so excited to be able to tell you a little bit about the Astute Leader Programme that Engagement Dynamics is launching on the 2nd of February 2021. Before I get into telling you about that exciting news, I just want to pause a moment and acknowledge the really tough time that we are in at the moment. I'm not going to bore you and I'm not going to insult your intelligence by telling you again what we're all going through. In this peri-Covid phase, I just want to acknowledge that there are people who are going through some of the toughest times of their lives. Maybe you have lost somebody who's been really close to you, and almost daily now, I am hearing stories of people I know who have either lost somebody really close to them or who are really ill themselves and struggling with this horrible disease. There are also people, I think, who have been impacted dramatically by economic changes and the massive shifts that have had to happen in our business environments. And so I just want to pause and acknowledge that before I tell you about Astute Leadership. So very quickly, I want to just, again, create the context. We are in a peri-Covid phase. If you want to know more about that, I'm sure I'll be explaining it at some other point. We're in the peri-Covid season of life, and we are also in what people have termed the fourth industrial revolution, a term that we actually seem to have almost forgotten during 2020. But the combination of these two forces have radically shifted the way that business is going to work going forward and created a need for leadership on a whole different level. At the beginning of last year, people were starting to talk about the skills that were going to be required of 21st century leaders. And I made it my business to collect all of those lists that people were putting out and consolidated them into a list of more than 50 different skills that people say are going to be really critical. Now, to publish a list of 50 skills seems a little bit crazy. So what I've done is I've clustered them into what I call 4 core competencies of astute leadership. And we are launching this program on the 2nd of February 2021, where we are going to begin to train astute leaders in some of these skills. At least creating an awareness of what the skills are, introducing the vocabulary, and beginning to help people to see the gaps that there are in their own leadership. So quickly to tell you about the 4 competencies. The first one is influence. And we talk about articulate influence, the need for people to be able to make their voices heard, to be very clear on who they are before they even begin to do that. And then to be credible, to ensure that they have a congruent, credible reputation. And so that's the place that we're going to begin. We begin with who you are as a leader. We'll be introducing people to their strengths. We'll be helping them to unpack and understand how their strengths impact on the influence that they have on other people, because there's no doubt about it, in order to first of all, create the future that we want to walk into, and secondly, to be able to solve some of the massive challenges that are confronting us in our current context, we need to be able to influence other people. We need to be able to enroll people to help us to solve some of these challenges or to work with us. The second core competence is insight. And we talk about the importance of awareness and insight. This is probably the area of leadership development that I think has actually been most neglected, even though we think we've done it. And really, this is about how we think differently. It is about how we think around complexity. It's how we make sense of this incredibly agile, changing, dynamic world that we are a part of. It's how we think about the future and what the future may bring, and the challenges that they may present, that the future may present us with. It's about thinking about complexity. It's about thinking critically, and there are very specific skills that people need to learn in order to be able to do that effectively. I spoke to a leader a couple of weeks ago who said to me she really worries about the leaders that she sees in her organization who she believes don't actually know how to figure out solutions to really big challenges that are not obvious, that are not linear. And so that's another critical competence. The third critical competence is that of interdependence. And in some ways, it pains me to actually talk about this as a critical competence, not because I don't believe that it is, it absolutely is, but because I actually feel that this is something we've been talking about for so long, and it really is something we should have got a lot better at. Interdependence is about how we manage our relationships. It's about our ability to really listen to people, to actually ensure that they know that we really care. It's about how we collaborate with one another successfully. Collaboration is a buzzword. We're talking about it so much at the moment, and yet we truly do not necessarily know how to collaborate effectively, how to negotiate relationships with people, to manage and navigate power, to handle some of the ridiculous ongoing relational challenges that we face. Moving on from relationships, and there's so much more I could say about that, the final and fourth core competence is that of implementation. It's all very well for us to be able to think effectively, to be able to influence other people, to be able to relate to them in a really effective way, to create generative environments. But we need to be able to deliver. We need to be able to show that we can get results and that we can move things forward. And so implementation is a critical competence. And I think some of the challenges that we need to be able to face nowadays is the ability, for example, to be able to create agile strategies. We can no longer have 5-year strategies, 5-year plans, because the world is changing way too fast for that. However, we do need to plan ahead. We do need to have some kind of roadmap for the future. And so one of the skills that we're going to be teaching people is the ability to create strategies that can be more emergent, that can be more agile. The second thing that we want, a skill that we want to teach people in our implementation module, is that of digital integration. I forgot to mention when I talked just now about thinking, is that of course people are going to have to learn the language of digital, the language of technology. There are so many words that are being bandied out there, and we may have a superficial understanding of what they mean, but we need to not only be able to converse effectively with people around technology, we also need to be able to integrate technology into our practices. I think at the moment we're all totally, we think, well, let me rather say this. I think people think that they're very clever because they can get onto a Zoom call. Honestly, that is a minor use of technology. It's become a very big part of our lives. But our innovation, our creativity needs to extend way beyond getting onto Zoom calls. The other thing that I think we need to be able to do in terms of implementation is that we need to be able to scale organizations. We need to be able to scale solutions. The only way we're going to be able to deal with wicked, huge systemic problems is if we can scale solutions. At the moment, people are obviously talking about the rollout of the COVID-19 vaccines. And I saw a post on Facebook the other day. We're excited in South Africa. We've just been told that there are 1 million vaccines coming into South Africa this month, although they were only originally promised for April. And so the 2 big pharmaceutical companies in this country said, we are ready to roll out the vaccine. And everybody got excited because they thought, well, the vaccines are here and they're going to be commercially available to everybody on the street. And really all they were saying is, we have got the capacity, we have created the ability to scale the rollout of this vaccine. We're going to have to roll out way more than just vaccines for COVID, although that's critically important right now. But the ability to scale solutions, the ability to create a minimum viable product and then develop it and roll it out to millions or billions of people is becoming crucially important as we get these enormous problems to solve. And so that, in a nutshell, and it really is, I have just scratched the surface of some of the skills that we're going to be teaching people in this amazing program. It launches on the 2nd of February. I am very excited to be launching the first module with Tshego Kutswane, who is, first of all, a dear friend. Secondly, one of the most incredible, brilliant people that I know. She not only has an MBA, but she has a master's in theatre, which means she's an expert at figuring out story, the story of us, the story that is our lives lived out, the story of our influence. And so I'm extremely excited to partner with her to launch that first module on the 2nd of February, which we are doing at an incredible rate. So if you sign up for the full 4-module program, which extends over 6 months, when we roll out cohort 2, you're going to be paying just under 50,000 Rand for that program. But as a launch special, and to get some feedback from people and to engage the early adopters, we are going to roll out the full program to the first cohort at 10,000 Rand. And if you want to take just a single module or take it module by module, you will pay just 3,000 Rand for that first module, as opposed to nearly 14,000 Rand if you wait for cohort 2. So I'd really invite you to come and join us. It's going to be a journey of exploration. It's going to be extremely engaging. I have expert technology and people who do very cool things online. And we are going to, this is going to be a journey where we learn together and explore this future world of leadership. So the details, I'm sure, are going to accompany this video. And I really am looking forward to seeing you become part of the Astute Leader community, which, by the way, is also going to include coaches and facilitators and sales associates. So if you're interested in getting involved in this Astute program in any capacity, please make contact with us, and we'll then be able to tell you about all the activities that we're rolling out, the amazing community that we're already building, and hope to connect with you during the course of 2021. Thank you.